welcome to another video. You've got Mr. Everything English, and we are precisely 3 weeks and 5 days out from our first exam. On May the 17th, you have English Literature Paper 1, which is looking at Shakespeare and the 19th century. And on May the 24th, you have your modern text and you have the poetry. Now, regardless of the school you go to, regardless of the exam board you follow, there is one thing that you all have in common. Every single one of you who is sitting in an exam in 3 and a bit weeks, you need to make sure that for your exam, you've managed to learn quotes off by heart. Because if you haven't learned quotes off by heart, then on the day of your exam, you will struggle. Because you will not be able to produce the essay, because your essay will rely upon your analysis of quotes. And if you don't have any quotes in your back pocket, then guess what, guys? You're going to use the exam as a nap. Because all you're going to do is sleep for 1 hour 45 minutes, and we do not want that to happen. So between now and your exam, guys, you need to make sure that you have learned your quotes 100%. No guesswork, no paraphrasing. You have learned your quotes. Now in this video, guys, I'm going to give you what I think are the 7 top methods when it comes to learning your quotes. And the first thing, guys, that I'm gonna advise you guys is as follows. Number 1, don't pick things that are too complicated. Don't pick quotes that are like 6 lines long and that have every complicated word under the sun. We have 3 and a bit weeks left till our exam. Learn quotes that you realistically are able to understand and able to use. Don't pick quotes that are far too complicated. So it's okay to use unsex me here. It's okay to use a man has to make his own way. Yes, they're common quotes, but it's fine because they are easy to learn and there's a lot we can say about them. So guys, my first advice is when you're selecting your quotes, please don't pick quotes that are far too complicated. Step number 2. How many quotes are you supposed to learn? I've heard some crazy numbers. I've heard students say to me that they've been told to learn 100 quotes, 80 quotes per text. Guys, I don't know what you're planning on doing, right? You're doing some hafiz on these texts. But guys, all you need to do is learn 10 quotes per text. Just 10. So 10 for your Shakespeare, 10 for your 19th century, 10 for your modern text, and then 3 per poem for 10 poems. That's it. We haven't got time to be learning 180 quotes. And how are you going to use those quotes? You're doing 4 paragraphs, which means you need 4 quotes. On top of that, for the Shakespeare and the 19th century, they're going to give you an extract, which means you only need to memorize 2 quotes that you're going to use for these 2. So guys, don't go crazy. The first step is don't pick things that are too complicated. The second thing, guys, is don't try to learn too much because honestly, you're wasting your time. I can't put it in any simpler way. Learn 10 quotes. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's enough. But I cap it at 10. All right, guys. Step number 3 when it comes to learning your quotes off by heart. Once you've got your 10 quotes right, start to make links between your quotes. Because the first step with understanding it, it's always easier memorizing stuff when you understand it. But guys, the third step is making links. So you might choose a quote from Act 1, Scene 2, Macbeth, and Act 5, Scene 3, Macbeth. Start in your head thinking about, are there any connections? Because let's say on the day of your exam, you forget the first quote. Because you've made links between the quotes, the other quotes will trigger thought and they will trigger memory and allow you to remember the quote that you've forgotten. So guys, make links between your quotes. So guys, first 3 points. Don't pick complicated quotes. Make sure you understand them. Number 2, don't pick too many quotes. 10 is enough as a maximum. And number 3, make links between these quotes. Then guys, step number 4. And now we get into the heart of how to memorize stuff. Guys, step number 4, sit down, get comfortable, get a paper, get a pen, and write out quotes. Write out the quotes you are learning off by heart. When I was in college, when I was in uni, and I had to do large chunks of essay writing and prep for exams. Guys, I would go to the library, I would sit in the library, I would get a pen, I would get my notebook, and I would just sit and write over and over again what I wanted my mind to retain. At the time, it felt like a fruitless exercise. I didn't think it was helping the first time I did it. But what I found was the next day, when I sat to do the same thing, I was recalling the information much easier. So guys, get in the habit of writing it down. So let's say you're learning 10 quotes from Romeo and Juliet. Get a pen and a paper and write out those 10 quotes again and again and again. Teach your brain to get in the habit of writing these quotes out. Then guys, once you've written these quotes out, talk to yourself. Now, if you're revising in a public space, you might not want to talk to yourself too loud because you may raise a few alarms, but talk to yourself. Once you've written the quotes out, turn the page upside down and try to then recall and speak out the quotes you've been writing. Unsex me here, star-crossed lovers, whatever quotes you're learning, try your best to recall them to yourself. And what you might find is, as you're reciting these quotes out to yourself, you might realize, hold on, I can easily recite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I'm getting stuck at number 6. All right, turn the page. Let's go back to number 6. What is number 6? Read it. Write it out a few more times. Turn the page. Start from 1 and go again. And keep doing that over and over and over again. Once you think that you've got your quotes and that you've written them out and that you've learned them to a good standard, guys, step number 6, teach other people. I don't mean teach your teacher. Go find your brother or your sister or your mum or your dad or a cousin, because I'm guessing you're revising in the house. Go find somebody in the house and first get them to test you on these quotes. So give them the sheet and say, look, I'm gonna read the quotes out. Tell me if I get them right. So go through the 10 quotes with them. But then it's the next part, which is the teaching element. For each of the quotes, just tell them what you intend to do with them. Now, I don't expect your parents to be an expert in Macbeth or an expert in Inspector Calls. So they're not there to tell you whether your teaching or your analysis is incorrect. You're there to use them to just see if you're able to explain those quotes to somebody. Are your notes paying off? Is your learning paying off? And then guys, step number 7. You know, whenever I have to make an important decision, anyone that knows me personally will know this. Whenever I have to make an important decision, I tell the person, give me 12 hours. Let me think, let me sleep on it. And when I wake up in the morning, honestly guys, it's like my mind is fresh and I can think super clearly. So what is my 7th advice? Sleep on your quotes. Now I don't mean put your quotes under your mattress or under your pillow. I mean, every night before you go to bed, let's say you spent an hour learning your quotes. Put your books away and go sleep. Wake up in the morning is sit down, get a plain piece of paper without looking at your notes, without looking at anything, with a fresh head in the morning. See how much you've retained overnight. That is a nice way to begin. And then build the day from that and do that every night. Learn your quotes before you go to bed or revise your quotes before you go to bed. Wake up in the morning and the first thing you do, write them down and see how much you've retained. Guys, I genuinely believe, right, that if you try to follow these 7 steps, you will most definitely learn these quotes off by heart. When I give you advice, guys, I try to make my advice real and applicable. I didn't talk about A3 or A4 sheets or flashcards. Those are just things you can buy. But what I actually want you to do is really work on learning these quotes off by heart. And I genuinely believe, guys, that today is Wednesday. If between now and Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you put into practice these 7 steps, I genuinely believe that you can easily learn your quotes by the end of the weekend. Guys, I hope you found that video beneficial. Let me recap, guys, the 7 steps. Number 1, don't pick things that are too complicated. It's always easier to memorize things that you understand. Number 2, don't pick 1,000 quotes. Nobody has time to learn 1,000 quotes. As a maximum, pick 10 quotes for the 3 texts and pick 3 quotes per poem for 10 of the poems. Next step, guys, make sure you're able to make links between your quotes. So if you forget one of them, the other quote that you retained will help you remember the one you've forgotten. Number 4, guys, write out your quotes over and over again. Number 5, talk to yourself. Repeat the quotes to yourself. See how much you can remember. Number 6, teach other people. Get people in your family to test you and then explain to them what you plan on doing with this quote. And number 7, guys, sleep on your quotes. Before you go to bed, revise them. When you wake up in the morning, fresh, jot them down and see how much you've retained. Those are my 7 steps, guys, to ensure that you guys are able to learn your quotes by this Sunday. As always, guys, thank you for your support. It's been Mr. Everything English. Peace.